Your Knicks, man. They're absolutely killing it. Killing it.
I mean,
And they're
yeah,
getting killed in the process in regards to injuries, but we'll get to that later.
they say it's a war of attrition. We're winning that right now. Um, we'll just talk about it since we are recording directly after game two of the Indiana Pacers and Knicks series. So Brunson goes down with an injury in the beginning of the second quarter, or late in the first quarter, missed the entire second quarter, comes back.
How are you feeling when that happens?
I was confused, as everyone was, because the broadcast had no idea what the injury was. They said first a groin, then they said a hand, a wrist, and then it ended up being a sore foot. And they really couldn't. We couldn't really figure out where exactly it happened. I think it was on like a drive on Siakam, and for whatever, or like he was just near Siakam, and for whatever reason, he came up hobbled. Um, Pacers go on a big run in the second quarter. They're up 10 at halftime, and it's not looking great. Halliburton finally showed up to the playoffs, having looking like the form that he kind of had earlier in the season before the in-season tournament. Um, Brunson comes back in the second half, and the Knicks start rolling again, and they start winning the battle on the board, and they start hitting threes, and everything kind of fell apart for the Pacers. Um, what are your thoughts on just what the Knicks are doing right now, given all the injuries and stuff like that?
Well, I'll mention Philly later, but
Yeah.
barring health, I picked the Knicks to win the series in five. As we know, when we did our original player predictions, I had the winner of the 2-7 going to the conference finals because I
Mhm.
didn't believe in the health of Milwaukee. I also just Milwaukee was kind of fraudulent even with Giannis. And then I thought the Pacers would take care of them pretty easily, and I was still somehow disappointed in the Pacers in the first round. The fact that it went to 6 games with
Yeah,
no
sure.
Giannis and at times no Dame. So with that being said, it's hard for me to take the Pacers seriously, and I expected the Knicks to really kind of just take care of Indiana. And I know these games have been closer than you'd like. But I think a mix of that is obviously the OG Anunoby, Brunson injuries, but also the Knicks are a team that basically just has one scorer and everyone else kind of feeds off him. So because of that, it's going to look like at moments where it's tough to score, and Indiana's going to have moments where that's all they do is score, but at the same time they can't defend. So they're having trouble closing these games out because they can't defend.
Yeah.
And if Brunson is going to absolutely be killer, which he's been this entire postseason, I mean, I expected him to have a great series, and everyone else is feeding off of that. And I have the Knicks going to the conference finals, and it's they're very if it wasn't for my Nets bias,
Okay.
how could you not like
Yeah.
the way this Knicks team is playing right now? Like, how could you not like the characters on this team? I mean, I've always loved Jalen Brunson. I've been and I've fallen victim to this this year. I don't think as much as some other people were in the national media where they some people really don't take the Knicks seriously. Like I've taken the Knicks seriously. I just thought the first round, like when they played Philly, I probably definitely overthought it. But you know, they Philly wasn't a traditional 7 seed. Like it's not like I had the Knicks
Sure.
losing to Miami. I think I had I had the Knicks beating Miami if Miami even with a healthy Jimmy Butler. So I think what the Knicks fan base is also really passionate about too is that they've been watching this team nonstop all year, and there's a lot of people out there who haven't. And they look at their roster and they're like Dante DiVincenzo, Josh Hart, Jalen Brunson, these guys were all reserves at one point in their career, and now they're just getting more minutes. So that's why they're putting up big numbers. And then you watch games like today, and you realize, nah, these guys are fucking good, and they're playing consistently good basketball, and they're very well disciplined, and they're well coached. You know, even Stephen A. Some guy named Hartenstein.
Right.
Hartenstein is incredibly important to this team. I mean, you would think months ago a Mitchell Robinson injury would ruin any chance of the Knicks making a run, and it's injury after injury, and you never hear an excuse from these guys, and they just keep fucking playing hard, and that is what I'm seeing from this team, and you can't help but applaud it.
Yeah, for sure. I think Kenny Smith said earlier tonight, he's like the Knicks right now, they have four guys playing the best basketball of their career. DiVincenzo, who's shooting lights out. You got Hart, who's averaging like 13 rebounds a game in the playoffs. Brunson obviously just came off four straight 40-point games. And then Hartenstein also, just offensive rebounding, his assists, everything. He just really helps our offense really connect. Just a second on the Pacers. We saw this all season with the Pacers, and we kind of knew it would be a problem once they got to the playoffs. Their inability to defend. And then offensively, you know what they're going to be, and it was just up to the Knicks to weather those storms when they went on those huge scoring runs. And then late game, because every Knicks game is close, just with the style of play, they're able to just walk them down. We're 6-1 in clutch games in the playoffs, which is basically almost every game he's played has been a clutch game. It's just crazy to see a team with a 7-man rotation, at times a 6-man rotation tonight. Alec Burks saw minutes; they were terrible. Uh, Precious was okay. He fouls a little too much, but he helps on the boards and stuff like that. It's just crazy to see uh, this team hold on and look to maybe make the conference finals. It sucks because, like you said, the winner of this series is going to go to conference finals. We're probably either one of us are losing to Boston because even though
You know what
Boston,
though? There's a world where you're the wrong seed and you're playing them in the second round.
true, exactly.
So here's how I look at it, right? You get to the conference finals, and then it's like, hey, we're here, anything can happen. But you gotta get there first. So the fact that, I'm saying the Knicks mainly because I actually think like it's unfortunate Randall's out. And we'll talk about this. Like, I'm also gonna introduce this idea. There's a world where Julius Randle is the unluckiest, most hated, like unnecessarily hated athlete in like New York sports. Like, because tell me like this isn't possible. It's possible that the Knicks go to the conference finals and like kind of like play very well against Boston, but either lose the series or whatever. But it's clear they still need him. Like they need someone like him. And then it's possible that like next year they're like maybe they don't get as fortunate with the seeding, or maybe the conference is better and then they don't advance. They don't get as lucky in
Mhm.
like in regards to like playoff matchups. Like Indiana, like they don't get an Indiana in the second round. Maybe they get like a upgraded Milwaukee, or like maybe they get a Boston or something like that in the second round. They don't go as far. And then like but Randall's healthy. And
And we don't
like
go as far. And it's
they
like, oh,
look at
look,
it, yeah, they
yeah.
look at it like, oh, Randall makes the team worse. Like, but it's to me, it's clear like if they had Randall playing well, which I guess is an if, even though
Mhm.
I think the sample size for Randall not performing well in the playoffs is not as big as like what people make it out to be. Like he was the only guy in that Hawks series, and then the other one he was hurt. And they still like went to the second round and they lost to the team that went to the finals. It's not like they lost to a team that didn't go to the finals. Like that's what
Right.
happened. So if they had Randall, like I think Boston Knicks would be like, especially no Porzingis, like possibly like
Mhm.
that could go seven. Like, but I think without him, they're gonna struggle. And Brunson, like, I can't say enough about this dude, man. This dude is like incredible what he's doing.
Is he a
And
superstar? Is he a superstar?
I'll eat my words if they go to the finals, man, or the conference finals. I'll tell you that. I think
Yeah.
I said that. Like, if they go to the
Yeah.
conference finals, like, I'm gonna eat my words. I mean, what he's doing is like ridiculous. I've always loved the guy too. I'm not even like a Brunson hater. I've just like, like I think when any guard with good skills in the NBA is playing the amount of minutes that he's playing and has the ball all the time, is making like every single decision, and those numbers are going to look really good. But his efficiency is off the charts, and just like the winning plays he makes are just, he's just a winning player.
Yeah.
And like, it's weird, but I think a lot of people like, I wasn't trying to disrespect him. It's just like, if you're not a top 10 player in the NBA, I don't necessarily think that's like an insult. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
and I still would take a lot of guys over him in regards to like who I'm building my franchise around, who I'm going to win a championship with. He's definitely got to prove that he can be the best player on a championship team. He hasn't done that yet. But he's getting the chance to do it right now and doing a good job so far.
Yeah, superstar is definitely a word that's thrown around probably a little loosely. Um,
Just
but
to repeat, like I think to me, a superstar is a player that you can win the championship with this guy as the face of your franchise as your best player. And I'm just not sure I can do that with Jalen Brunson. I
yeah,
think he's without a doubt a number two, without a doubt. But sometimes with these numbers, I think the NBA, especially nowadays, is so like talented. Maybe it doesn't matter as much. Maybe it's not as simple as one, two, three type thing. Maybe you can have a team like a New York Knicks where you have like this gritty group with a good, gritty coach, and then you have Jalen Brunson, who's an excellent, smart basketball player who works really hard and just shows up and plays.
yeah, that's definitely true. Um, there's only a couple guys in the league that fit that description of superstar, so it makes sense that you wouldn't think Brunson is a superstar. And I guess to what most people, because these conversations are going to be had, especially after tonight, and if the Knicks go on to win this series, going to conference finals, if someone like Brunson can be the best player on a championship team. Unfortunately, this Knicks team has so many injuries. We're not as deep. Makes sense why people have that like apprehension to saying Brunson's a full on superstar because there's only been so many small guards to win a championship. Isaiah Thomas and Curry really have been the only
Yeah.
ones. Chauncey Billups, I guess, sort of, but that was like a kind of
That
a
was it could be a
unique team.
situation like
Yeah,
that.
like
Like, you know
you
what I
need like a
mean? But
unique team that fits.
and I
He
tell
was
you what,
able to do
man,
that.
I can't think of another team that's like this Knicks team. Where like just some ridiculously mysterious, weird, like unpredictable team. Like if you were to tell me at the beginning of the year, it's like, yeah, the Knicks are gonna go to the conference finals. I mean, I knew Jalen Brunson was gonna be good, but like, yeah, their second and third best players are gonna be Dante DiVincenzo and Josh Hart because OG Anunoby's injured all the time. And like obviously when Anunoby plays, he's like the second banana, but
He was
like
he was fantastic tonight,
and
or when he
Randall's
played.
injured. I'd be like, you kidding me? Like, and Josh Hart just decided to just make threes again. And DiVincenzo, who was atrocious in the first round, other than that one big shot, like he's been absolutely terrific. Um, it's an absolutely insane story.
The Philly series was a bad matchup for DiVincenzo. I had a feeling that with the Pacers that this was he was going to be a lot more useful. But what I said about the Knicks was that Hart and OG Anunoby were going to be huge, and they have been completely. Hart playing out of his mind on the boards, even shooting threes, which he wasn't doing too much in the regular season, saying that he didn't really like shooting threes. But Philly kind of forced him to shoot threes, and they ended up dying by Josh Hart's threes, which
Mm,
is, what do you do with that? On the Sixers side, Maxey was fantastic. What he did in Game 5 was ridiculous, scoring a la Reggie Miller,
mm,
who annoyed the hell out of me tonight on the broadcast because
yeah, of course.
this is not about you. Like this is not about you anymore. You know, by the way, his record in MSG is 7-27. By the way, he is not a Nick killer. He just has that one infamous moment in the playoffs.
No,
Anyway,
those two playoff series. Well, didn't they beat them in 2000?
um, no, then the Pacers go to the finals that year.
Yeah, didn't the Pacers beat the Knicks
Oh
in
yeah,
the East
but
Finals?
but in '94, the next one.
No, no, I know
Yeah.
that. Yeah, great documentary by the way, 30 for 30. I just bought ESPN Plus and I've been watching a bunch of 30 for 30s. It's always one of my favorites. And speaking of which, OJ Simpson just passed recently.
Mm.
So that's 30 years ago since his Bronco chase. And at that point, the Knicks were in the finals and the Rangers won the Stanley Cup and the
You're
Rangers
saying
look
there's
unbeatable right now.
some type of
OJ
parallels
Simpson's
here?
dead and the
That's
Knicks
funny.
look good.
That's interesting. Yeah. The injuries going. That's weird. Some weird parallels, but it's crazy. Um,
What are your
the
thoughts on the Pacers? Like, how can the Pacers tie the series? Because to me, like, I don't even think about the defense because it's not happening. The defense isn't gonna.
then I'm not sure. Everyone had because Halliburton finally shows up tonight, but then you get a no show a little bit from Miles Turner. Siakam didn't shoot well, but then they had, they got to play McConnell more. Honestly, Stan Van Gundy was screaming it on the broadcast, and he was right.
Mm,
When TJ McConnell was in there, he was giving Brunson some trouble,
mm,
and he can score. We don't really. He's something. He's a weird player because like it's you look at him and he's like, who's this guy? He looks like an accountant, but
mm.
he's really good. He had a double-digit assist tonight. Uh, if he plays more in that fourth quarter, who knows? I think you could get Halliburton off the ball a little bit if you experiment with playing them both together. Uh, Rick Carlisle's gonna have to figure some stuff out because, like you said, I don't think they all of a sudden are gonna be able to stop the Knicks scoring unless the Knicks just have a bad shooting night. But with the offensive boards, we're gonna, regardless, even if we shoot poorly, we're getting more shots than you. So it
Mm,
almost evens it out.
mm.
They're just gonna have to find a way. Halliburton's gotta play the way he did tonight again. He's gonna have to continue that,
Of course. I mean,
and
if they
then
have any shot in this series,
yeah,
I mean,
he's
a big
got to play
reason why
better.
they lost game one is because he didn't show up. He didn't play well.
And it's weird. He just doesn't like when he looks for his shot. It's good. It's just
Hmm.
weird that he just I don't know what it is about him. If it's just not the way he
Mm,
likes to play, or it's just because defensively he's longer than anyone we have on him. I mean, he's bigger than
mm,
DiVincenzo.
Does
If
TJ McConnell play more, do you think? Like,
I
because they
think
were
he,
kept showing him.
I think he has to. I think
Mm,
he could tell he was frustrated. He was like talking to fans and stuff. I don't know if people were saying stuff to him or whatever. Rick Carlisle got threw out today. At the end of the game, obviously he was really frustrated. There was a weird
mm.
double dribble call that ended up getting overturned.
Oh, that was atrocious. Oh my
That
God.
was
I
really weird.
understood his frustration because that's like the dumbness of the refs to just call
Yeah,
that. And then don't, they just undo it
yeah,
without a review or anything.
that
Like
was
it was
bizarre.
the way they
Um,
handled it was atrocious. The refs overall this series, I've just been
I
game
think
one,
I think across the playoffs, it's been a lot of inconsistency because
game one, man. I mean, like I don't always like ripping the refs, man, but the NBA refs make it really difficult. Um,
the kick ball that was off the hand.
yeah, like they the Miles Turner
Oh,
offensive
the illegal
foul
screen. Yeah,
is malpractice. You do not call that. First of all, these guys is the playoffs. This is a physical Knicks team,
yeah.
and you're gonna call that? Are you kidding me? And technically, there's gonna be like this is a legal screen,
But
Yeah,
it
it,
was
it
also
was, but you know how many
DiVincenzo also
times?
flopped a little bit. Like
Yeah.
I'll admit that he
And whatever
flopped.
happened to that,
Oh
we're gonna
yeah, I don't
fine people or give texts for flopping.
I don't know. That lasted
Whatever
about like
happened to that?
two weeks in the regular season.
Exactly.
Brunson got it
So
called on him like twice in the game once, and then after that, I never saw it again.
yeah, that was because I realized it was dumb. I knew that was dumb from the beginning. I was just saying like you just don't call that. It wasn't so egregious that you
It
call
wasn't.
it. And you know what? Like Rick Carl challenged it, but I knew they weren't gonna overturn it because it's like technically an illegal screen. You know what I mean? Like it's technically the right call, but it's just something you don't. It reminds me of like when the Eagles when they lost in the Super Bowl. Remember they called that pass interference penalty on like the game
Right,
winning
right, right. Yeah,
drive. It's just like you let that go. Unless it's obvious, you let it go.
it's got to be
It's
egregious. Like it's got to
no
be
the fans don't come to
clear.
watch you.
Like yeah,
And the reason why I think like they didn't get murdered was because it was like the Knicks won and it was at MSG. If the Knicks lost the game and they lost on some BS like that, like they would be freaking going absolutely crazy. I was struggling to see that like there are a lot of Pacers fans that really believe they're better than the Knicks, and it's just like, all right, you guys don't defend. You may think like, oh yeah, we have Halliburton and
right.
Wally Serbiak looking pretty on the money, huh? No, I'm joking.
How the hamstring thing? I understand. Like apparently that's an injury that
No,
could
no, I
even if you
agree.
get better enough to play, it makes
Hmm.
a difference. But then tonight he was really good. So like, how much of it is the injury? How much of it is on Halliburton? You can't really
Yeah,
tell.
I would like to see him work a little bit more in the mid range. I mean, he had a nice floater late in the game. And I was like, why don't you do that shit more? You know what I mean? It's just like,
Exactly.
just be more aggressive, especially in game one. But we kind of forget like this is his first playoff anything,
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see. I wouldn't be shocked if they won game three, but like I just don't think like I just think the Knicks got this. I really do.
You can always check out the JB podcast on Spotify and YouTube. I'll put all the information in the description. Thank you for tuning in to episode 31 of the True Shoes podcast. I've been Dan Aquino. He's been James. Thanks for listening.